the Honorable Gaston Browne. This afternoon we are going to have a particularly short show this afternoon. That's because I have an engagement later this evening which I must attend. So we encourage you, our listeners, to stay tuned with us, as we dissect the information that we have here and to disseminate to you as usual. Welcome, Antigua Barbuda. Glad to know that you're all tuned and locked to us here at 99.1 FM, Antigua's latest sensation, by the way. And also to our friends in the neighboring islands, good morning, good afternoon to you as well. To the Villa and Point communities, we want to say a very pleasant good afternoon to you. We're right here in your neighborhood. Glad to know that you've selected us once again as your radio entertainers. Today is Saturday, January 27. As I said, welcome to the Browne and Browne Show. Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Browne, is with us. Good afternoon to you, Prime Minister, and how are you today?
Good afternoon, Colin. I'm fine, and good afternoon to all of our listeners, all of our viewers. Wishing you all much love and blessings.
Yes.
And of course, Queen Murray and the beautiful people of Point in Villa.
Yes, you never forget that part of your introductory greetings here. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm glad that you made some time available, that you have given us some time out of your busy schedule to be with us. As I said to the listeners just now, we are going to do a very short show this afternoon, which means we're going to open up the lines after about half an hour to 45 minutes.
That is fine.
But I have a few questions for you. To begin with, you made a visit to the Sister Isle Barbuda yesterday. What was the purpose for this visit, by the way?
Well, it was for the launching of the UNDP program, in which the People's Republic of China made a donation of $2 million to assist us with the replacement of roads on Barbuda. Mm-hmm. As you know, the People's Republic of China had donated the money literally 2 weeks after the disaster. But it took some time for the UNDP to mobilize and to get the material on Barbuda. So the function yesterday was to launch that program. However, when I got there, a number of things were brought to my attention. A number of buildings that we have been repairing, that is the government of Antigua and Barbuda, including the Hannah Thomas Hospital. We have a situation in which the UNDP apparently gave a few sheets of plywood and then decided to place the stickers on the buildings as though they were repaired by the UNDP. I thought that was extremely opportunistic. It was a form of, let's say, opportunistic promotion during a time of crisis.
For clarity, for those persons who would not be familiar with the acronym UNDP, that's the United Nations Development Program.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
And let me make the point here, too, that we contracted them to be agents on behalf of the government and people of Antigua and Barbuda. So they do not work for themselves. You see, there is a thinking that governments are intrinsically corrupt, and especially in certain parts of the world. I mean, areas of the Caribbean and Africa, they consider us to be corrupt. So whenever you have these disasters, the donors prefer to use international organizations such as UNDP, Clinton Foundation, and several others. I mean, UNOPS and others, even Samaritan Purse. So we actually chose UNDP to assist us with the execution, and I think they get paid about 8% of the proceeds that they collect from the donors. The first donor would have been the People's Republic of China, who donated $2 million US. In fact, it's our intention as well to channel additional funds, totaling, I'd say, another approximately $8 million US to UNDP to assist with the recovery. But the funds are not intrinsically UNDP's funds. They're from donors. So of the $8 million that we're likely to receive, hundreds of thousands of dollars repairing had these UNDP stickers as though UNDP did the work. In fact, they also have the information on their website. So I thought that was false representation. One, it would have diminished the extent of work that was done by my government. I mean, we have repaired over 60 properties. We have another 30 on the repairs. In fact, we have to pay the workmen on a regular basis. We have to provide material, and we have. So for an international organization now to come and give a token amount of material, and if you say it's 200 or 300 sheets of plywood, we're talking about a maximum of about maybe 20,000 EC dollars contribution. And for them to take credit for all those buildings, I thought that that was a form of opportunistic promotion. And I said to them, my government will have none of that.
Was there anyone in particular representing the UNDP that you have spoken to at that point in time?
Yes, they had their representative there, their resident representative there, and they had other members of the UNDP. And when we got to the Hannah Thomas Hospital, there were some UNDP signs on that building as well.
Right.
Now, we contracted a private contractor to do the repairs there. We're not only replacing the entire roof, we're literally rebuilding the facility. So I said to them, look, you know what? I find this to be reprehensible. This is a form of opportunistic promotion, literally on the backs of the Barbudan people. And I instructed them to take off the signs, and I make no apologies about it.
What was their response to you saying that it is reprehensible?
Well, I have to admit that the resident representative said to me that, you know, he was sorry. I mean, he saw it as a form of exuberance by the UNDP members. I saw it as a form of misinformation. And let me say this, you know, organizations such as UNDP, they're run by human beings. They're not infallible. There's this notion that because it's an international organization, people believe that they get everything right. But there's also corruption in those organizations. We know what happened, for example, when John Ash was actually chairing the United Nations. You know what happened there. And the UNDP, they have had issues, even in Haiti, with all the hundreds of millions of dollars that the UNDP and other aid organizations got to spend in Haiti. Haiti is still in a mess. People are still living with tarpaulin on the roofs. People are still living in tents. And it is well known, too, that in many instances with those international organizations, to include the Red Cross, that they have literally spent, in many instances, the bulk of the funds that they collect on behalf of these beneficiaries on their administration. In fact, there was a report recently on the Red Cross in which they said up to about, 80% of the monies that they collected would have gone towards the administration, and only 20% spent on the beneficiaries. Now, in as much as we welcome, we accept the assistance from these organizations, we have to make sure that we're not exploited in the process. And I brought a number of things to their attention. And let me tell you, these things have to be dealt with publicly, not no little meeting in which I beg them to do certain things. They must understand what the requirements are, and I must say so publicly in a transparent manner without fear or favor in the interest of this country.
Speaking about publicly, I realized just on my way here, less than an hour ago, there was the opposition leader, Harold Lovell, on another media house, commenting about the UNDP situation. Have you heard about it?
I heard him briefly, and I understand that he said that I should have had a private meeting with them and keep it private. Well, if that is his style, he can go ahead and do so. The bottom line is I'm an open book. And where I see certain things are taking place, I will certainly step in. I also made a point, too, that there's at least one organization in Barbuda that made an international intervention in which it supplied some hurricane relief supplies. And since then, nothing has happened. So I've made a point, if you don't have any more work to do, well, time to leave. So if they do have additional work to do, they need to let the government know exactly what they're about to do.
Do you believe that your intervention at this point in time will hamper what they're there to do?
Well, if they're there and they're doing nothing, well, we have nothing to lose. If anything, we have something to gain. What we do not want, 30, 40 years ago in the country, very small, as they say, in order to sneeze, you have to go outside.
What we call a 2x4.
Yeah, 2x4. Exactly. You want to change your clothes, you have to go outside and change your clothes and go back inside. So we said to them, not in this day and age. And so they were offering some of those, along with outside toilets, pit latrines. And we said to them, no way, we're not interested. So there are some people who perhaps believe that we must just accept whatever they bring to the table. But you have to understand here that unless it's in our best interest, then it makes no sense. Now, one of the reasons to why we have to set the parameters from now and do it publicly too, they must know that we know exactly how this game is played. There are many charitable organizations globally that collect funds and literally misuse the funds to support big executive salaries for their directors. Some of them go jet setting at the expense of these vulnerable people. The point that I'm making is that it's not going to happen in Antigua and Barbuda. And if by virtue of me stating something that is factual publicly, and Harold Lovell has a problem with that, well, too bad. So he's trying to suggest that, I'm not a statesman. Well, sir, you're a statesman for 10 years, and where did you take this country? You destroyed the country. 10,000 people lost their work. You destroyed the economy. You are sleeping on the job. At least you have a prime minister who is au fait of these things and obviously making interventions to protect the interests of the people. In fact, Trevor Walker was there as well, and he intervened. In fact, he was literally cursing myself and Minister Arthur Nibbs.
Why?
Because he was of the notion that the UNDP is spending all this money in Barbuda. Look at all those buildings that they've done. Look at all the signs and all the buildings that they've done. And the government has not done anything. So
which is exactly what you have just said is not correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we'd allowed those stickers to stay in those buildings, it would have diminished the contributions of the government and would have accentuated or inflated, for that matter, the contribution of the UNDP. So I said to him, sir, the UNDP is our employee. We do not work for the UNDP. We invited them here to assist us with the execution. And they get a commission. They're like commission agents. They're not spending any money. The money so far that they would have gotten is $2 million from the People's Republic of China. And, we thank the People's Republic of China as well. I mean, we have done so on several occasions in various fora. I mean, China has just been extremely benevolent to the people of Antigua and Barbuda. So, after I explained it to him, he apologized. He said, well, I did not know. But the interesting thing is, he actually operated in government for 10 years. So how can he not know? And, having heard Harold Lovell briefly, it seems as though he's just as ignorant as to what is happening. He probably is of the view, too, that UNDP is bringing some kind of money to the table and helping us. UNDP has technical expertise, of which we are grateful for, and I commended them yesterday. But I said to them, there are certain things that you need to address. Now, let me give an example. I'll give you a few. They brought in building material from Barbados to include plywood. Now, to my knowledge, Barbados does not manufacture plywood. So, if indeed they got those plywood, let's say, out of Miami as an example, they would have flown them to Barbados and then possibly back to Miami and then to Antigua. Do you think in that case that could be an efficient system and that they could be potentially cheaper than buying the plywood from our local suppliers? And you're telling me, as a Prime Minister of this country, I'm supposed to turn a blind eye and do nothing about it, say nothing about it? Now, I want to tell you, putting them under public pressure will help to change the policy. And I've said to them that they must utilize local inputs. They must purchase material locally to help to stimulate our economy. That is one of the major objectives post any disaster, to increase spending so that you can help to stimulate the domestic economy and to provide opportunities to the locals, in this case, particularly the Barbudans. I mean, clearly there's no building material business in Barbuda, but certainly it will provide opportunities to the vendors here in Antigua. Now, one of the reasons to why we are setting the parameters early, because there are additional funds to come. And, yesterday I spoke to Ambassador Clarence Henry, Dr. Henry, and I've asked him to ensure that in his discussions with the same UNDP in Barbados and other officials of the European Union, to ensure that this provision to the Chinese that are being utilized through UNDP, all of it is going towards the purchase of material, which means now that the government has to pay the workers, which is putting further strain on the government. So the additional $20 million that we will collect in a matter of, let's say, weeks, we are hoping that at least maybe a good portion of it, 7 to 10 million, could be made available to pay salaries and wages so that the contractors who are working on Barbuda, they don't have to struggle and wait to be paid. If all that pressure is placed on the government, then clearly we're going to have a problem paying the workers on time. Because you have to understand, too, that we have a significant amount of pressure right now paying the expenses to the Barbudans. We have to find about $1.2 million a month to pay their salaries and wages. We also have to find at least, I would say, another $1.5 million a month, and that is to cover food and other expenses. And that does not include transportation and other costs, to include the cleanup costs and so on. In fact, I have to tell you, significant progress has been made in Barbuda, and I'll get back to that. But the point is, the government has to find over $3 million a month to take care of the affairs of the Barbudans. And even though it's a daunting task, we recognize that, look, they are a responsibility and we have to do it. And we are definitely going an extra mile to satisfy the requirements. So as these donors make their contributions, we want to make sure that they don't just send building material to the country and then ask us to find the matching monies to pay the salaries and wages, but that they can have a wage component to take some pressure off of us. So it's a form of proactive leadership, too, to ensure that at the end of the day, whatever funds are raised and are spent by the UNDP or any other organization that we may choose to work with, that they deliver value for money to the people of Antigua and Barbuda. And let me make the point here, too, that if we do not insist on getting good value for money, you will not get it. And the best way to do it is to do it in a transparent manner so that the average Antiguan and Barbudan will know. Because if you're telling me that the now leader of the opposition does not know that UNDP does not have any intrinsic money, and that one of the candidates who served as a minister for 10 years doesn't know either, then it suggests to me that perhaps the overall, maybe the majority of the population do not know.
It's kind of difficult for me to not say this here, but although I want to be as objective as possible, don't forget that the former Prime Minister, he did not even know that Antigua and Barbuda is a unitary state. So it seems to be a common thing among
So they're sleeping.
Yeah, perhaps,
so maybe then that the population may be aware and they're just unaware. But I'm saying if they were the leaders at one point of this country and they did not know, then I have to assume that perhaps the average person within the population would not have known. So that by discussing this thing openly, and by the way, I was not rude, I just stated some factual things. And I think it's important for us to deal with these issues in a transparent way. So people must know what the issues are and that we're addressing them. Now, they even said that dating back to, July or August of 2014, that I disrespected the IMF. Disrespected the IMF. A lady came here, Mrs. Chisti, came here in August of 2014 to tell my government that we have to go back into an IMF program. So she made a mistake and allowed me to speak before her. And I said to her, there's no way, under any circumstances, that Antigua and Barbuda are going back into an IMF program under my leadership. She put away her speech and said, I'm so sorry. But she even said to me, too, after the fact, she said to me, I wish you luck. I hope you don't have to come back crawling. Yes, she said that to me.
How much do we owe the IMF at this point in time?
Well, God is good, because at that time when we owed them $320 million, the truth is I didn't know where the money was going to come from. But we have reduced that loan now from $320 million now down to $22 million.
Wow.
And by the end of June, the latest, we will wipe off that loan in its entirety. So, look, they're human beings just like us, yeah? And it's not a matter of being disrespectful, as how they're trying to put it. This is a matter of sitting at the table with them and sharing our views. And I don't think I have to be apologetic to anyone if I'm defending the best interests of the country. And, you know, again, we don't role play. And I think they are confusing that with being disrespectful. I see them as my equals, and I should be able to sit in any forum, any fora with them and discuss issues and take whatever position that is in the best interest of the state. I mean, I should not have to go there and role play. So what was I supposed to say to the IMF chief? Well, I'm so sorry. Well, we don't think that the country's economy contracted to the extent that he destroyed about 22% of the country's economy in a 3-year period. So the question is, he must ask himself, okay, you have been this diplomat, you have been this nice boy, you sat down with them, you drank their bitter pill, and you mash up the country, you destroy their political career. In my case, I'm saying, hey, look, I do not agree with you. Even when the IMF come and they say certain things to us, and we do not agree, we say to them, we do not agree. I mean, we have a God-given brain just like them. And the truth is, many of them, the officials that they send from the World Bank and the IMF and so on, they're little low-level people. In fact, they have a tendency of treating countries in the Caribbean and Africa with disrespect. As the late surveyor said at one point, they even run a sweetie shop. But they want to leave Washington and come to Antigua and tell us what to do. Well, I used to tell UPB what to do. In our case, I have a seasoned cabinet. I have individuals who have been governed for what? About 31 years or more. Comrade Robin Yearwood, as an example. Comrade Marlon Joseph as well. Comrade Asset Michael has a significant amount of experience. So the question is, Comrade Cutie Benjamin, we have significant depth. I mean, we're well-trained people. We have significant experience. So why would you think that we will just be lambs to the slaughter and just take whatever these international organizations give to us? When they come to us and they take positions that are not sustainable, we say that we do not agree. And it's a sensible thing to do. It's the right thing to do. So for Harold Lovell, who was a lamb to the slaughter, who destroyed this country, as far as I'm concerned, he has no moral authority to speak on the issue. And again, I just want people to understand that I do not role play to anybody. I do not see myself as being superior to anyone. And there is no one who is superior to me. Not even Trump. Doesn't matter who the person is. I meet them in any forum. I talk to them like any ordinary human being. What do you want me to do? Have some kind of special soft voice to them? We don't work like that. When we go there to represent. That is what the people of Antigua and Barbuda pay me for. Not to go there role play and play some kind of inferior role to other people.
Do you believe because of the way you execute and the way you handle your affairs, as you just described, that is why some people will want to label you as a radical?
Well, the truth is, you had Surveyor who didn't travel much while as Premier and Prime Minister. So, I mean, he didn't have a lot of that exposure. The person who had the exposure would have been Celeste. I would accept that we have different styles. Baldwin Spencer, well, I want to tell you, he didn't have the capacity. He lacked the capacity. There was no representation. There are many times, example, even when Baldwin Spencer was actually chairing meetings of CARICOM and so on, Sir Ralph will just go and just take over the meeting because Baldwin didn't have the confidence to represent the country properly.
Is it the confidence?
Didn't have the training either.
Is it the confidence or the aptitude?
Yeah, both. So clearly, we had a problem here in the country in that the representation was weak. Antigua and Barbuda took no position under the UPP on any issue. Can you recall Antigua and Barbuda champion any cause or has been asked to champion any cause within CARICOM?
Not at this point.
In 10 years? It never happened. So now that we are providing good leadership, firm leadership, they want to suggest that that leadership, according to them, is bombastic leadership and all kind of foolishness. So they want to go role play to people. I'm a prime minister of a country and I'm representing a proud and capable people called Antiguans and Barbudans.
Overall, how would you describe the rebuilding process? Because you did say that you were going to get to that.
Yeah, I have to tell you, APOA has done a remarkable job. I'm one of the first individuals who saw Barbuda from the air and saw the extent of the decimation. There was hardly a telephone pole that was standing. All of them were literally blown down. All of the telephone wires, electrical wires strewn all across the streets in Barbuda. Most of the grid would have been replaced so far, and I understand that they will be from within the next few days starting to turn on different sections of Barbuda. They're just trying to make sure that there are no hanging lines and so on, and that there is no risk of individuals getting electrocuted. There's water, and the cleanup as well has gone very well. By the way, we've spent millions of dollars on the cleanup campaign in Barbuda. And then I understand that one of the charitable organizations, after we done spend $1 million, they got their team and started to do a little litter picking. But as well, we have made a significant amount of progress. And as I said, we have fixed over 60 homes. Another 30-something are on the active repair. And when you hear fixing, we're talking about put it in ring beams and so on where there weren't any. So we're talking about building back better. We have been doing that. But, you know, it suits our opponents for foreign organizations to go and put stickers in all the buildings and say that they did them, so that the government doesn't get any credit. So they can say that we were wasting time, we haven't done anything for the last 4 months. When indeed, up to this point, it is the government of Antigua and Barbuda that has been carrying the strain. In fact, barring a few friendly governments that have given us some small amount of money, we haven't gotten any big money. All the monies that they pledged at the UN conference, we haven't gotten a cent. In fact, none of the countries in the Caribbean know exactly who to turn to or where to go, where to apply for these funds. I mean, they're pledges, and I'm quite sure that at least half of them would not even deliver on the pledges. So pledges do not necessarily mean money. So the bottom line is we have had to carry the burden as a government. But there are people there who don't want to give us any credit for it. Now, I recall when I went to the United Nations, just after the Hurricane Irma destroyed Barbuda, I was able to hit the international community on a few issues. When I came back, the same Harold Lovell said, he's too this, he's too that. How could he say this? How could he say that? But it's the very issues that I raised that resonated, that caused the UN Secretary General to come to Antigua. It is the very issues that I raised, including the issue about using per capita income to preclude countries of developmental assistance, that really caused the international community to relax the rules and to help us. So I can argue that I have been at the forefront of this fight. So this idea that you just go to these organizations and you conform and you don't say anything that is controversial because you'll upset the apple cart, where people may not like me, but at the end of them getting the job done. So take your pick. I could go there and put on the best suit, an $8,000 suit like Harold Lovell, look good, and, put on the finest speech that I can, and then come back and pat myself on the back. Or you go there and you deal with some real hard issues, and you talk to them in the way they'll understand. But you want me to go there with some kind of round mouth talk, and by the way, notice I don't have a special accent, It's a raw Antiguan, raw back accent. Make it a little sophisticated in certain forum, but the bottom line is straight talk. I'm not going there with no Yankee thing and talking about no government. So if that makes you a diplomat, well, I'm sorry.
Mr. Prime Minister, how many Barbudans, by the way, have so far accepted your government's offer of freehold title to own the lands in Barbuda? How many so far? About how many?
Well, I understand that the minister indicated, the representative for Barbuda, that he has in the region about 100 applicants so far. But I have suspect until the lands are fully surveyed and ready, that take-up will be slow. But I'm pretty sure as soon as they become available, we'll see a significant increase in the take-up.
Now, we want to move now from Barbuda. I realize that, and I'm going to leave the budget speech discussion until last.
Okay.
But in today's paper, I'm seeing something there on page 5 where it says, Pitbull goes after world boss for defamation. By now, I'm sure you would have received, already received, given a copy of the claim. I haven't read the story as yet, but have you read into the papers for today? By the way, I'm just showing it.
I see fire here. Fire. Where is it? The truth will come out. I hear fire in this one.
Fire?
I didn't call it fire for nothing.
Beady was hanging over the head.
Okay. I say no.
Don't say anymore.
I'm going to further with that.
Okay.
And this man used to live in Wilma Daniels' house.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So because it's now within the
court system, so we'll say nothing further.
We'll say nothing further on that.
All I can say to the people of Antigua and Barbuda is that I do not deceive. If I did not have certain reliable information, I would not have made the comments that I made. I had information. I shared information with Mr. Daniel, and as I said, if he is guilty, I apologize on his behalf to the people of Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay. Now, listeners, just something special for you, especially those of you in the United States of America. We now have a line. We make sure that we bring something new to you. Last week or week before last, we had our website up and running, and also you can find us on our website. Before I go to the number, you can find us on our dedicated website. You can find us at www.pointfmradio.com. That's point with an E. Again, it's www.point, that's P-O-I-N-T-E, pointfmradio.com. And join us there. You can also find us on Facebook. Go to your Facebook page, and in your search field, you type in Point with an E, P-O-I-N-T-E, Point FM 99.1. Find us there. Leave your statements, of course.
And WhatsApp.
Our WhatsApp board, it's open 729-7102. We're going to be taking your messages momentarily. And also, our app. Go to Google Play Store, download it, install it, and take us along with you. Now, for the number, I have given you enough time to get your pen, your pencil, and your paper. For those of you in the United States of America, the number to get us live on air, this is going to be something good for you. 718, that's 718-285-7889. Again, 718-285-7889. Mr. PM, I want to touch on the issue of the World Trade Organization, because during your budget discussion, I didn't hear you mention anything about it, and especially in recent times, I'm not hearing much. Have you given up? Is it a dead issue?
Well, I would not say that we've given up, but you know that it's in the geopolitics of the region that might is right. So we are one of the smallest countries on the planet, and we have come up against the superpower, the global superpower, the United States. And as far as they're concerned, they don't have to settle. And if they do settle, as far as they're concerned, we should accept trinkets. And we have taken a position, before we accept trinkets, we prefer not to accept any deal from them. If they come and they offer us a fair deal, in fact, based on our estimation, there was in excess of $200 million. If they offer us something fair, we'll accept. Based on what they've offered us so far, it's perhaps in the region of about, if you have to monetize it, in the region of about, I would say, maybe $2-3 million US. And as far as we're concerned, they're not going to treat us with that type of disrespect. We won an arbitral award against them. They destroyed the gaming sector, and the WTO found that they were guilty. They're supposed to be paying us, and they should pay us. So we will continue to take the moral high ground in this, and we'll continue to speak to the issue. You know, the interesting thing about it, they do not wish to settle, but they continue to tell us that we should not say anything about it. So it's like we're supposed to suffer in silence. I do not accept that. And I know that perhaps my style may not necessarily be welcomed by some, but at least nobody going to take advantage of this country, no matter how powerful they are. And I'm prepared, no matter what they do to me personally, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I have sworn in the parliament of this country to represent the people of this country without fear, and I'll continue to do so. So if they want to take it personal and to deal with me personally, I'm prepared to suffer the consequences. What I do know, provided I remain as Prime Minister of this country, there's no way, nobody, no state, no organization, no entity will be able to take advantage of this country without a pushback.
Now to the budget presentation, and we here at Point of M, we want to congratulate you for something that we have never seen before or heard before. What we saw live on television reminds me of when Vivritras was knocking 6 after 6 at Antigua Recreation Grounds. I've never seen the confines of the wall, the walls, the confines of the parliament looking like that with the high fives, and it tells me that there is some high level of support with what you have been, or what you said on Thursday. It's either a high level of support, or it's just downright somebody saying that you're playing politics here. Which one is it, sir?
I'm always playing politics. I'm a politician. Playing politics is inescapable. So, but the reality is the budget was a developmental budget. It was about developing the people of Antigua and Barbuda. As you know, the theme was rebuilding together, and in essence, what we're trying to do here is to rally the entire population to work together to contribute towards the rebuilding of that we have inherited. We cannot take blame because we did not create those problems, but we take full responsibility for resolving them. And we have been resolving the issues. So when we remind the nation about a banking sector that literally collapsed, and if we had not intervened, you probably would have had some level of contagion and would have undermined the OECS currency union. That went beautifully. We were able to protect the savings of thousands rather, of Antiguans and Barbudans. Many individuals, it was actually their life savings. We were able to stabilize the banking sector, not only with ABI Bank resolution, but even CUB that was going down. We had to invest $30 million into that bank. We acquired 80% of the shares and thereby stabilize the bank in order to protect customers' deposits. And if we had not intervened and the bank had failed, the consequences would have been exponential. So that is what you call, proactive leadership, one in which the government would have anticipated the problem, stepped in, and resolving it. Now, we actually include a number of initiatives for the poor people of this country and even the working class. And when I say poor people, referring to the poor and indigent. So, for example, we have this program that we call HAPPI, HAPPI. And that is a program for the poor and the indigent in which we are providing housing grants. In fact, just next door, property that we're building next door here, part of it is funded from private contributions. People like myself and Everett Roberts and so on have contributed to it. And we'll use a small portion of money from the HAPPI program, maybe 10,000 EC dollars, if we can get as much as 20, to rebuild a brand new home for a family right here next door to Point FM.
Yes.
A family that fell within that category as poor and indigent. And you recognize that they've been living under squalid conditions.
I've seen it.
For the last maybe 30, 40 years. Interestingly, it's a UPP family. They were in government for 10 years. And they didn't see that one of the strongest supporting families in this community was living under squalid conditions. And I said to them, you all have to vote for me, You all are human beings. Nobody's supposed to live like that. I've said to them, Sharon, all them up to yesterday, to Sharon, I'm not looking to vote for me, I just want to make sure that my government help you, and me personally too, because I'm contributing cash to it as well, to improve your living standard, you and your children and your grandchildren. I mean, nobody's supposed to live under those conditions. And that is something, that program will ensure that throughout the community, throughout the country, that will identify those individuals who have literally fallen through the cracks, who are indigent, and to help them to improve their properties. And that is what a government is about improving the living standards of people, especially those who can't fend for themselves. So we have programs for the poor and the indigent. We have programs for the differently able. We have programs for the working class people. You know, too, that public sector workers, there are a number of concessions for them, concessions on vehicles and furnishings and homes, even a $10,000 grant for properties that will purchase some national housing. And we also agreed to give them a 5% interim increase.
Which is what I'm coming to, because the General Secretary of the ABSA, the Antigua Public Service Association, also the leader of the Democratic National Alliance, who has interestingly labeled the budget as a Houdini budget. But both are saying that this is not going to, that 5% across the board for salaries and wages is not going to have any impact. What do you say?
Well, let me again, and you always have to compare. Harold Lovell was finance minister for 5 years in this country, and at a time when inflation was extremely high. At that time, petrol prices were about maybe, let's say, almost three times of what they are now. So we had about 4% inflation at that time. So, and if I'm exaggerating, because I don't like to exaggerate either, and certainly I'm not going to lie, it would have been no less than 3%. So if we assumed on average that inflation under Harold Lovell's watch was about 3% on average, and he served for 5 years, that's 15%. So he would have literally presided over a reduction in the purchasing power parity of people's wages. In other words, the amount of money that many of them could not pay the car loans. In fact, during that period, the amount of foreclosures and cars and mortgages and homes would have been so much that it would have warranted a caring government to do something for its workers. What did he do? He wasted the $320 million plus all the other hundreds of millions that they borrowed, to the extent Harold Lovell cannot point to one program, one initiative that the $320 million that he borrowed from the IMF, not even one year, not even one program that those funds were utilized to fund. So, fast forward now, 3.5 years into our term, having inherited all those problems, that very loan of $320 million, we had to pay it back. Just imagine if we didn't have to pay back that loan. And I'm especially talking about that IMF loan because we didn't get any value for it. In fact, we're still trying to figure out where did the $320 million go. We recognize that, look, we had to deal with our obligations. We had to pay the IMF, otherwise they would have blacklisted us. Even the Chinese loans that were delinquent, we knew that we had to prioritize them. There were so many issues to address at the time. Fixing ABI Bank, paying the IMF, bringing the Chinese loans up to date, clearing the Western Oil Company arrears that owed over $80 million, the APC debt. By the way, no, other than $221 million that we had to resolve, they also owed APC over $45 million electricity. So the UPB government couldn't pay for water, they couldn't pay for electricity. The government was bankrupt. SemCorp, as you know, they owed SemCorp $22 million. So, whereas, we would have been willing to give an increase earlier, or even to use some of those funds to fix roads, we had to pay those debts. And it was the responsible thing to do. So, even this year, and we're faced with a deficit of almost $100 million, we said, you know what? We have to give the public servants an increase. Now, the 5% is an interim increase. It does not impact on the negotiations in any way. So if eventually the final amount is, let's say, 10% as an example, then what it would mean is that late in the year when we would have completed negotiations, we have to pay them 5% more, so they've gotten an overall 10%. Now, I find it interesting that the young lady who leads the union, the ABPSA, that she's trying to make a case that this is union busting. You see, it appears as though now that this lady, who is obviously an operative of the UPP, that she is trying to get public sector workers agitated, to strike, to create problems, because she believes that an election may be on the horizon. All I have to say to that young lady is that whereas you ought to represent your union and its members, you must be objective. And you must not be seeing this issue through partisan lenses, because I cannot see how she can scoff on a government being proactive, making 5% available right away. So we're saying, look, we understand his hardships. We're going to give you 5% right away. It does no harm. It does no violence to the negotiations, but yet still she has issue with it. Now, I understand that Harold Lovell and John Messiahs they're saying, well, 5% is too little, which is just an interim thing. So what I would like them to say to the nation, definitively, is that if they were in government, how much they would have offered. Would they have given 50%? And just to share with the nation what the situation is within the public sector, the wage bill is in the region of about, I'd say, $350 million. So understand that if you get 10%, then you have to find $35 million. If you give 20%, you have to find $70 million. So if it is that they had planned, or they feel that it was appropriate to give 20%, I would like them to also tell the nation where they would have gotten that $70 million from. And it is well known with salaries and wages that you cannot just increase salaries and wages willy-nilly, because that in itself will be inflationary. So you also want to try and control inflation, but at the same time give them an increase so that at least the real value of their money would not be reduced, or at least it could increase. Now, inflation under our government has been at an average of no more than 2%. You'd recall that last year, inflation was actually minus 1%. This year, it's about 2 point something percent. So on average, for the last 2.5 years in government, inflation in Antigua and Barbuda has been around no more than 2%. So if we say, let's, it would have meant that there would have been an increase, overall increase in real wages, so that their money can buy more now, they'll have more money. Now, you know, I don't understand how someone who would have been in government 3 years ago or 3.5 years ago can have the kind of gumption to be critical of us. When he had the power, he did nothing. He didn't know that public servants wanted an increase. It's about 11 years now, you know, since public servants have not had an increase. So it took a Labour Party government to come and say, hey, look, even though things are bad and we have to pay all these debts and we have this big deficit, that we're still going to do something. You're telling me that the public servants would not be appreciative of that, knowing that we inherited a country that was in a total mess and that a country that is still extremely vulnerable? Well, I know that our people are intelligent people. And I know that they can differentiate between fact and fiction, and that they know that Harold Lovell can't help himself. He's just one of those incessant lions within the UPP. Can't help. He just lie at will.
There are some who would want to argue that your intention with the 5% right across the board for public servants in terms of increasing pay, some people are saying that your intention is to prejudice the negotiations.
Well, that's the point I've made before, and I understand even Harold has said that. As I said, he lies at will, but how can it prejudice the negotiations? We said that we're granting the 5% without prejudice. So what do they want? They know that these negotiations generally they take at least a year. So we should keep the people of Antigua and Barbuda waiting for another year, saying that we're negotiating. But that is what they want. And you know why they want that situation? So they can push us into a corner, get the entire public sector against us, so that they can score cheap political points. So they're the ones who are playing politics, who are literally trying to create an atmosphere of instability in the country. So as far as they're concerned, they feel that we would have stymied whatever plans that they had to create instability in the public sector, and that is why she made the point that it's union busting. It's not a union busting. Or do we bust the tail with the bad plans?
No,
wicked plans.
Interestingly
too.
Go ahead.
I find that the UPP, they want everything in the country to go bad. They want to mash up the CIP program. They want to mash up the economy. They want to mash up everything to get power.
Yes.
So in other words, they're telling public servants, you know what? You should suffer for another year. Negotiate. Don't take anything from them. Suffer for another year so that, you know, people get frustrated and so we can get power. If I was in opposition, I said, hey, look, take the 5%. And maybe I ask for 20. You gotta get 20, but even that make more sense.
Speaking about a bigger figure, first of all, before I go to the figure that the Antigua and Barbuda Public Service Association General Secretary mentioned, she has likened it, that 5% increase, or the 5% that you're offering across the board. She said that it's an insult.
Okay, if that was an insult, the party that she supports, when they were in government, they offered nothing. How would she characterize that?
Interesting. Let me tell you
I hear what? Nobody heard her mouth. So they got nothing under the UPP. So we're in power for what? Let's say 3.5 years now. For 8 years under the UPP, they got nothing. And nobody heard a word from that lady.
Let me tell you why she said it's an insult. And I'm quoting here, with an inflation rate of 3.4, and you have Social Security moving from 2016 through 2017-18 up by 2.5%. Add that to the 3.4% of the inflation rate and see where we reach there. Do the math. How can we be happy? It's an insult. It's an insult to public servants.
Clearly, she has a counting problem. At no point for the last 3.5 years, inflation has reached 3%. And even with a Social Security thing, it was like, what, 1%? And then it was a half of 1%. So she's making up her own figures to justify her statement. But again, she's now turning out to be another political hack who trying to create instability for political reasons. She well knows that the 5% is reasonable, but she's trying to create mischief within the public sector. And again, I repeat, where was this lady between 2009 and 2014 when Harold Lovell was finance minister and did not offer a cent, not even a 1% increase? Where was she?
What was their proposal?
Yeah, we wanted maybe a 3% per year, something, a 4%, even a 5%. But you're telling me that any organization, public or private, can go and increase salaries and wages by 50%? They know it's not practicable, but yet still, they do it. They waste a lot of time. They take a whole year to negotiate, while public servants out there suffering. We say, hey, you know what? Here's 5%. If they want to waste their time and talk about 50% and so on, fine, they can waste a year, but at least you're getting 5% from January 1st, 2018.
Sir, would you say that, because I am understanding as well that you have been now looked at as having violated the Civil Service Act by going ahead and proposing an interim increase or an increase without consultation?
Well, you know, that is utter foolishness, yeah? It is true that it is a negotiated process, that we have to negotiate the amount. We have given an increase without prejudice. So it doesn't prejudice what they're asking for. At the end of the day, if they come with a figure and they insist, for example, they want us to pay 50%, how are they going to get it? Where are they going to lock down the country? Where are we going to get the money from? So, look, this woman is playing politics. I don't know her. And, you know, we saw this too with the nurses situation. The nurses, they at the mental hospital a few weeks ago. Whereas we resolved a number of issues literally on the spot and gave an undertaking that within 30 days that we will start the repairs at the mental hospital at the, we call it the Clearview mental facility. She decided that her workers must continue to strike. Now here the interesting thing is, we paid all, and I emphasize here, all the vouchers that they had in Treasury for the overtime, which was one of the issues why they're striking. The very people who are responsible for the preparation of the vouchers in the Treasury to make sure that the workers get paid, she had them striking. Now, how does that help? If they're not there to prepare the vouchers to put them in the Treasury so we can pay, how are they going to get paid? And that is a form of irresponsible industrial action, because clearly this woman is driven by politics and she has people who are following her innocently. She just wants to create mayhem in the system. I understand she all around the place trying to create problems, telling them they must demand this and demand that. But Antiguans are reasonable people. And they know exactly what transpired 3.5 years ago. They seem to think that we're not talking about 30 years ago, you know. We're talking about 3.5 years ago. Things are still fresh in the minds of Antiguans and Barbudans. People know they're suffering. Public servants know that they did not give them a cent. Not 1 cent. And you tell me a government coming now giving you 5, and you know you have the possibility of getting more. You're going to tear down the government? Are you going to follow some so-called union leader to tear down the government when you know that it's pure politics a person playing, looking support for a political party? Not going to happen.
Now, Mr. Prime Minister, for the benefit of those who might not have heard you, when you spoke about the measure, the amnesty for those people who would have been subscribers to the Antigua Public Utilities Authority.
Well, at amnesty, we said that, look, those individuals who have had their electricity cut off for more than 90 days, when you have electricity off for more than 90 days, it's pay you can't pay, you know. Who wants to live without water and electricity for more than even a day, much as 90 days? It's a caring thing to do. It's a godly thing to do. And we say we're going to wipe off their arrears and reconnect them.
That's right.
Harold Lovell said we're giving away the country. Can you imagine that? So when they had all their teeth in contracts and give the cronies hundreds of millions of dollars, he wasn't giving away the country. But we give the poor people of this country a little water, a little electricity, bring them back so they can improve their living standards.
Yes.
Basic things that they ought to have. Yeah. He has a problem with that. Is that amazing?
No, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm going to open the lines momentarily. But I noticed that while you spoke about the recurrent expenditure and the revenues that are generated, there was a gap that you spoke about. A gap of about, $448.4 million. You did mention that no new taxes. How are we going to weather the storm?
Let me explain.
If this gap is so huge, $448.4 million. No new taxes, how are we going to do that?
Let me explain. You have what is called to amortize those debts. That means paying off the principal. Because as I said, the interest would have taken us up to about $80 million overall deficit. In order to pay down the principal, we have to find at least another, let's say, I'd say probably $350 million. And that's what's creating what is called now the funding gap. Now, the difference is that it is not overspending. You have to understand that we inherited a country with a lot of debts. The debt to GDP was 102%. In other words, the debt exceeded the size of the economy when we came to power, when international standards are such that it should not exceed more than 60% of the economy. Your debt should not exceed more than 60% of your economy. So we've gotten it down now to 73%. And I hear Harold Lovell trying to make the point that we have not reduced the debt. No, and he said too that is because of exclusive because of a swap we did with Social Security, in which we transferred the base facility to Social Security to reduce the debt. But he seemed to have forgotten, and I would just call one loan, just the IMF loan alone. We don't pay back over $300 million. So how can he tell the nation that the only thing that we prepaid of any consequence is the Social Security debt and that it was an asset swap? But I'm just telling you that this guy just lies with impunity. And guess what? He doesn't have a good memory. So, you just keep repeating the same lies over and over. But going back to the whole issue of the overall deficit of about, well, when I say funding gap rather, of about $400 million. We have securities on the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange, almost $200 million. So we just roll them over. So that's half of our problem solved there. Then we probably do a diaspora bond, and we'll also get some money from CIP and other initiatives. Some of it is grant money. I think we're getting about $80 million of grant money this year.
This would include the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB?
Well, that's a loan that we're getting from them. But I'm saying outside of that, there are different grants. Take, for instance, the $18 million to the roads. We would have gotten that. And by the way, what will happen to after that deficit? Let me go back to the deficit, the overall deficit I spoke about, current account deficit. You're going to add your debt amortization and your capital expenditure. This year we're spending about $200 million in capital expenses to fix the roads and so on. And some of them are loans from CDB and so on. So that's all part of your funding. So whereas, for example, we're going to spend about $200 million in loans to build roads, 66 million of it coming from the CDB, that's funding. 18 million US of it coming from the UK DFID fund, and that deals with the funding part of it.
Okay.
But it's not a situation in which we are spending, in terms of recurring expenditure, spending more than what we're collecting. In fact, I made a comparison for the first 3 years of the UPP government on the Harold level and my first 3 years. They're saying I should not make that comparison. But what other comparison can I make? My government is only 3 years old. And I know they're trying to tie me to other Labour Party governments. The bottom line is, I'm speaking about my administration. I'm defending my administration. Lester Bird is still alive. He will defend his administration. VC Bird is dead. They can go Symmetry Galaxy about his tenure. But the bottom line is, when you look at our first 3 years, we expanded the country's economy by about 17%. Harold Lovell, in his first 3 years, collapsed the economy by 21%. So they're saying that we should not look back. But people must be able to make that comparison so you can determine who is the more competent person to lead the country, which party is more competent to lead the country. If you can't make those comparisons, how are you going to make an intelligent decision during the next general elections? People must know. Now, if we look at these deficits now, I said to you that we had, and will have this year, 2018, and we had that for the last, let's say, 3.5 years in office. This year, we will have a primary surplus. You got that? Meaning expenditure, if you're following me, will be less than the revenue that we collect. In the case of the UPP, they had $150 million primary deficit. In other words, they spent $150 million, an average for the 3-year period. They spent $150 million more than what they collected. Let me give a typical, another $1,000, you have to pay back $100 a month. So with that $100, which is your debt repayment, you have to add that to your deficit, and that creates your funding gap. So you have a funding gap, they have $300. So you have to go borrow that from somebody, not so? Or go and thief.
Acting dog poo poo.
So when I speak about now, what I would have said to somebody, a person who finds himself or herself in that type of problem, I'll say to them, hey, you see that
$300
extra $200 you're spending? Do something about that. Cut your expenditure and bring it below the $1,000 that you make. The ideal situation is if you can bring it out to $900, so you have the $100 to pay your loan, and everything balanced.
Yes.
So that is what we have been doing for the most part. I made a point, though, that the hurricane would have exacerbated the situation. Nobody may be blaming Irma, other than Irma ought to be blamed for the fact that 15% of our GDP was lost as a result of the effects of Irma. That Irma mash up Barbuda, mash up roads in Antigua, and we have to borrow money to fix them. So all he did was just to state the fact, is not to say that, I mean, they talk about blame Irma and blame UPP. Well, I make no apologies about blaming UPP. And if anybody think that they're going to blame my government for all the bad roads on the island, for the fact that they couldn't get water and so on, that wasn't our problem. We didn't create those problems. We inherited them, and we are fixing them. So let me emphasize again, sir. We take no blame, but we take responsibility. And I guarantee that we'll fix them.
Okay.
And we are fixing them.
All right. There were a number of people, and some of them have met me personally on the streets, and they're asking, why is it that the Prime Minister, I don't know, I can't answer for you, but they're saying, why is it that the Prime Minister didn't address the issue of the price of fuel at the pump?
You know, I hear them talking about price of fuel at the pump. The price of fuel is significantly cheaper than it was on the UPP. Now, they argue that, you know, oil prices are significantly lower. But what they don't recognize, the price of oil, right, is only a percentage of the overall cost of energy. I want to emphasize that. You have to add value. For example, if you're looking at electricity as an example, the petroleum component of it may be probably 20% of your overall cost. So even though that particular factor or input reduces by 30%, your overall cost can fall by 30%. And if you're following me, sir. So if that input, oil, in the production of energy, you following me, is 30% of your overall cost, and it moves from, let's say, $30 to $15, your overall cost cannot reduce by half. And that is a misinformation that is spreading out there, and they know better. Because to do the generation,
It's costly.
to do the distribution, to pay salaries and wages, etc., all those are fixed costs that do not change with the price of oil. So you have certain fixed costs in the production of energy that do not change. So the point I'm making, though, is that we have reduced the price. You'd recall in our first budget cycle, we reduced it by $1. The second one, I think, by $1.10. It is true that in 2016 we had a windfall. I think we got up to about maybe $75 million in the petroleum tax. But what we have done is that we have this mechanism in place that when the petrol price goes up, the government's taxes reduce, the consumption tax, because what we're trying to do is to smooth out the prices to ensure that there's predictability and to reduce the volatility in the prices so that people can plan properly. So you'll find, for example, that whereas in 2016 we may have earned about, let's say, $75 million, the last year, the 2017, it would have been down to about maybe 40-something million because oil prices would have moved from about, let's say, $40 up to $50-something, almost $60. So we saw a reduction this year of at least $20 million in the consumption tax. But it is what is called a price stabilization mechanism to keep the prices constant. And we do have a consumption tax. When they're in government, they used to collect about $30-40 million a year from it. It's a fact. So what are we not supposed to collect the $30-40 million too? We're supposed to give it away? I hear them talking about cutting fuel variation by 50%. It can't be done.
In quick time. So the lines are now open, 562-3989, 562-2991. For those of you in the United States of America, your number is, let me just get it here quickly, it's 718-285, let me do that again, 718-285-7889. I repeat, 718-285-7889. Give us a call. We want to hear from you. We want to engage you as well. And for those of you wishing to send us your WhatsApp messages, we noticed that, well, we have quite a bit here. We want you to send your WhatsApp messages to us on 729-7102. You can also follow us on our dedicated website. You can join us there by just searching your Google search, www.point with an E, that's POINTE, pointfmradio.com. Also, go to your Google Play Store. Download us there, install, and follow us right there with your app. Take us along with you. To the telephone lines we go. Good afternoon. You're live on the Browne and Browne Show. Good afternoon to you.
President, good afternoon to you, Colonel, and the Prime Minister.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, we're clowning the weather with truth. By the way, I know it's general stuff, but Prime Minister, you're doing a very good job.
Thank you, sir.
Don't bow to nobody. Do the right thing for the country. And raise your head high. Don't worry nobody.
Thank you. God, the Harry Lovell, I'm supposed to bow my head, hold it down in shame.
No. When you walk and look down, you're taking last something. Walk with your head high.
Yes. Thank you.
Look forward and push the chest high.
Thank you.
That's the second soldier. Soldier B.
Buffalo Soldier.
No,
That's right.
only one, the original.
I love what you're doing for this country.
Thank you.
And long time we need leader like you to stand up for right. Don't bow to nobody. And you left officers like VC Bird. When you get old, you would entirely go left office. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
All right, you have a good evening as well. Let's go to line number 2. Good afternoon. Okay, we lost that one to our overseas line. And the first person to call us, seems as if this person is calling from Florida to me. Hello, good afternoon. You're live, 99.1.
Good afternoon, Colin.
Good afternoon. Where are you calling from, by the way?
Florida, man.
Florida. We're glad to have you. By the way, you're the first on this line, so we have to give you a big up, man. Congratulations for reaching us. Yes.
I'm an open bat in cricket. Don't be like warm bat.
Nice.
Okay.
Mr. Prime Minister Ed Lewis. Ed Lewis.
Ed
Not a name.
Lewis, yeah, cricketer.
Oh, okay.
Not a name. Yes.
Nice.
I wonder if people in Antigua listen to the Caribbean news and say DK. Because for the last 6 months, maybe a year, in Jamaica, the teachers are asking for a percentage in raise. And the government is offering them 6% for 3 years. So you give 5% as an interim, and people in Antigua are complaining.
Can you imagine that?
I don't understand them. As I say, and the same thing happened in Trinidad. If you listen to Caribbean news, because I was telling somebody on the phone, boy, I don't know how these guys run government because so much headache. You got so much people asking for amount of money, and you got
the government of Trinidad. The government of Trinidad said they can't pay, and even Barbados. In fact, Barbados has said, "Hey, look, when it comes to that, y'all can lock down the country. We can't pay it."
There's some serious difficulty.
Yeah, even the police in Jamaica too. They offered 6%, and they said they're not taking it because the government said we can't pay. We don't have no more money. And you're offering 5%, and people coming out. You know my wife said to
interim.
me? You know my wife said to me, Ed, 5% is a lot of money now. It's not one person paying now.
Exactly.
It's the whole public service.
11,000 people. Thank you, sir.
My wife said that to me. She says, Ed, 5% is a lot of money.
I think this is a sweetie shop we're running.
It's not one person paying.
Thank you.
It's a lot of people. If you add up all of that, it becomes a lot of money. But as I said, I am an open bat. So once you call the number,
Thank you.
once you call the number, I am attacking.
Okay.
I told
Then
you
when
they have
I'm
sensible
listening.
people out there. The
Okay,
bother with them.
I'm listening.
All right,
Thank
Ed,
you.
thanks for calling. Long to hear from you. As a matter of fact, Mr. Prime Minister, I can remember some time ago, I was in New York, and we practiced in a basement playing cricket just there, and he invited me to come forward and play with him.
Was coming again in January when he heard the budget speech. And somebody tried to cross. He said, listen, with 5% going on, and with the land issue in terms of $3 per square foot with the land issue, he said that is so good by the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. But what I really call this is I can't really truly worried with some of them guys. I mean, who have eyes to see and ears to hear whatever. Mr. PM,
Yes, sir.
some roads, in fact, let me say this, and to CEO Williams and the team, is that both Holes and Fort Road complete, yeah?
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
And let me also thank the callers on Point FM because they're helping to drive the process. I understand the area in Bethesda, that area has been fixed too. So when you call and you say you want to fix, we deliver.
Yes. Right.
And thank you, Dr. Hanley.
Right. There's something that I would like to suggest to you, sir. The roads that are paving presently, you have St. John Street and North Street. If you can suggest or use the powers to get people or get the authorities, whoever, to put at least 1, 2, 3 speed bumps on those roads.
Okay, sir.
Yesterday while sitting on North Street, I noticed certain things, and a lot of children play around that area. Huh?
Yeah, they're speeding now. They have smooth roads.
Yeah.
I'm
The other
blind.
thing, yeah.
Sorry for cut the butt. What you
One
saying
minute,
the
one
right?
minute, one minute.
Allow him.
Mr. PM,
Yes, sir.
there's a bathroom down at the bottom of St. George Street and Dickinson Bay Street. I am going to suggest to you, sir, that you take that bathroom down, build a proper bathroom, and give somebody, a responsible person, to overlook that bathroom, sir, from 6 to at least 7 o'clock in the evening. I can tell you the reason why. We spend a lot of time cleaning those drains. And we take a lot of pride in cleaning the drains in Point and Villa. We spend a lot of time in cleaning those drains, and it's hard and it's difficult for us to comprehend when people use the bathroom not to bathe their skin, but to do other things. You understand?
But let me ask you, why you think they wouldn't do the same thing to a new toilet facility and bathroom facility?
As I said, every person who used that bathroom, when they finish, somebody will actually go and peep and see what is, how they keep the bathroom.
What about if we help the people to get bathrooms in their homes and abandon
I don't have a problem. That's even better, sir.
Okay.
That's even better. That's even better.
Very well.
Right?
Thank you.
The other thing.
Quickly.
Yes, quickly. That big gutter down there, sir, I walk with 1 or 2 engineers, sir, is that we have to turn that gutter across and take it back below Bryson, where the water was originally running to, sir. Because to send it down to Judge Bay, I noticed for the past week or so, we getting anything like at least 1 foot to 2.5 feet of water in that gutter when the water back up.
It's backing up.
From the wave.
Let's talk to the Chinese and see if they can have it integrated into the port project.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Let's go to our international line. Good afternoon. Okay, we lost that one. Let's take another one here. Good afternoon. You're live. 99.1.
Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Colin.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Prime Minister, this is Keith Black speaking from the Bus Association.
Yes, sir. How are you?
First, gentlemen, and let me say first, let me congratulate you on your budget speech.
Thank you.
It was well done. Also, let me say to you, sir, I have a little issue at the East Bus Station. I think I need to call on you for some level of assistance with that.
Okay.
There's a road there that goes on by the play field. And we've been asking the public for some time now to give us some assistance, because what is happening, I think there's a natural spring that is coming from the back of the library. So when the water flows from the library, from the back of the library, there from that spring, it then comes out onto the road.
Okay, so what do you need, a drain?
What it needs, what is happening when it comes on the road, because the road has a lot of potholes, it then stays there. So when the kids from schools, when the school over in the afternoon, all the kids goes there, and the buses and the transport traveling up and down that road, it then becomes a problem, because the kids get all messed up and so on, people driving in the water. So we're just asking if they could go there, and if they can fix the road and put maybe where the water comes out on the road from, put a drainage there so the water then goes across the road, instead of just staying on top of the road itself, because that itself. Okay, thank you, sir.
Very well.
Okay. Moving on. To the U.S. we go. Good afternoon, you're live, 99.1. Hello, good afternoon. Okay, we lost that one as well. Let's take another one here. Good afternoon, you're live, 99.1.
Hello, Mr. O'Neill.
Good afternoon to you.
Diana here.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, may I say to the Prime Minister, congratulations on a budget well delivered.
Thank you.
I hope he managed to implement, if not all, as much as possible.
Getting everything. And by the way, just yesterday, St. John's Development Corporation signed off on the construction of the 5th pier.
Oh.
We're making our first payment by about Wednesday of this week of $5.5 million US. And we will have a press conference this Friday coming in order to confirm to the nation that this project has started.
And the next thing, sir, I hope you're not calling us a rag gag, you know. I didn't hear something about the rag gags.
No, that's what they call disrespect.
Anyway, I know you look about it.
You know the interesting thing about it? They say all kind of foolishness about our people, call them ragtag and so on. I stand up in the international forum and speak fairly, without fear or favor, in the best interest of the people, and they find that to be disrespectful. How could that be?
Well, let me tell you now, you did some good things and you do some wicked things to two business places in Antigua. Very wicked. And then two business places are Barnes and Strophy. Because since you take over, business slow.
Business slow.
Business slow.
Yeah, people not get from pressure stress being called like that, can't get what is this. Business slow. Anyway, keep the business.
Thank you very much.
All right. I want to read quickly a comment from one of our viewers on Facebook. He says here, it was okay for Sandals to walk away with over $100 million of Antigua money, but Lovell has an issue with ordinary Antiguans. Let me clear that. But Lovell has a problem with an issue with ordinary Antiguans getting utility debt forgiveness. I hope Antiguans appreciate how caring the ABLP government is.
I could not have said it better.
Yes,
it's
quite right.
Amazing.
It's quite right.
That Harold Lovell allowed Sandals to take $101 million of our ABST when those funds could have gone to the pockets of the public servants.
Yep.
So he never thought about that. I mean, these people are something else. I thank that particular person who sent this. This is just so true.
It's right there. Okay, let's go back to our international line. Let's see if we can get this one. Good afternoon. You're live, 99.1.
Good afternoon. Colin is Avril checking in.
Hey, Colin, how are you?
Good. I just want to tell them good afternoon to you and the whole staff, and to my Prime Minister, and to tell him that he has done a brilliant job in Parliament, and everything that he says, it will happen. Tell the people that it will happen, but it's not going to happen right away. It takes a little bit of time, but you are going to get everything he said. He's not like Howard Lovell and them. And all I want to say, with Howard Lovell and them and you, the DNA, they wish there was a law that every time they speak a lie, they tell a lie, you should charge them. They should pay for
or they lose at least one finger. By now they won't have any fingers or toes.
They won't have no finger because every lie they tell they should get charged. They just tell lies all the time. So they should lock them up and try to fool off Antigua and Barbuda the people. They need to stop it. You know, they're just lying people. They don't have no morals, no scruple, nothing, no shame. Oh, okay, that's all I want. But I'm listening. I'm 100% with you. Every day I listen at work. I have my iPhone with me and I'm tuning to everything. And I love Kimber all day today too. Thank you.
And you love now that we gave you that international line as well.
Yes, but you know what? I will spend my money for Antigua and talk to the Prime Minister.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's go to another one here. Good afternoon, you're live, 99.1.
Good afternoon, House.
Good afternoon. Turn the volume down on your radio.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Collier. How are you?
I'm doing fine, holding strong.
And good afternoon to my Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, comrade.
Carlin. I've been for my cousin too, so me and I'll feel jealous as well.
All right, okay.
Freeland or Francis.
We hear you.
Jonas. But still belongs to the Just A&M, so.
Well, I still have to meet you, because now that you're telling me this now, it's piquing my interest here.
No, listen me now, Mr. Prime Minister.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
I like how you was batting Ed Carlin and say you're open bat. Me and all open bat too. I would expect, remember when you were building a housing project, I went up there to look a job. But this guy from Aldi says me, Tony, you ready off a project. And when I go there, he tell me, I got no work, man. And the guy and this man tell me, if I come and talk to you, me do talk to you, tell me, well, you give everything to contract. So you're not going straight. They will remember I will speak to you.
That's true.
But 2012, now me support the bigger, Celeste Bird, like he could be my hero until he dead, and I make sure that I look free. And then now a man meet me and tell me, second, look here. Who is this man glass them bro? Me telling me no know he. But this man tell me look like a no video, sound like a no video. Man tell me look, you will get strong and powerful, And when the gentleman don't sit down and talk to me, right? I said, well, okay, 2013, you're not going to favor nobody, you're not going to afraid nobody, and you're strong.
Thank you.
So what else we give it a good on? Oh, I'm Mr. Auntie. No. The Browne and the babes, man. You can't do the good work.
And that's why Harold got into trouble with Sandals, I recall when I sat with Bush. First of all, we had a committee in place, and I want to rehash.
want to give somebody the chance.
Okay, go ahead. Listen on.
Your family.
Okay, listen off here.
I'm trying to rehash Sandals, but we had a negotiating committee comprising myself, Robin Yearwood, Asset Michael at the time, negotiating with Butch Stewart. And all of a sudden, Butch Stewart said, hey, I now meet you in the body as with the Prime Minister. I had to go alone. Sat with Butch Stewart. Tough man, Butch Stewart basically said to me, let me tell you something, You see that ABST that I get in every month? You can't touch that, And if you touch that, you know what? They want me to build 2 hotels in Mexico. So I said to him, I saw the game go. So he said, I'm not building the beaches either, And if I do the beaches, you have to continue that arrangement for another 20 years.
Really?
So I said to him, so what is in it for the people of Antigua and Barbuda? And he repeated, well, they want me to build 2 hotels in Mexico.
That's how he speaks.
So I just said, thank you very much for lunch. I walked out. He came, he patted me on the back and said, Prime Minister, don't worry, I'm going to look after you. I started to walk a little faster. I go no further.
You're not in that. You're not in that. Let's take one here. Okay, we lost that one. Let's go. Good afternoon, you're live, 99.1.
Hello?
Good afternoon, you're live.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
World Boss belongs to Vice Cartel. World Boss belongs to Vice Cartel. Representing the St. John's Rural North constituency. This is my global boss. Honorable Prime Minister.
Hey, lady, a pleasure.
After UN are world boss, you're global boss.
Thank you for your kind compliments.
I must say this to you, right? Persons like me, and I will openly, as you say, we're supposed to be open when we're doing things. At present, I don't even have electricity in my house, and that's because I did not pay APA. I can't blame nobody. I had my crisis, but the hope that you have brought to me, I know I'm getting paid next week and I'll be at APA paying my bill.
Very good. Very good.
And therefore, I'm looking forward to my incentives as a public worker in this country. For the first time, I've been working for 20 years in this country. I have never heard a budget that addressed persons like me before, especially working in the social service providers such as the welfare department that deal with child care and protection. I will say to you, my global boss, thank you for the incentives. and I will be first in line to cash in on the different incentives that you've offered to us as public workers. Thank you, my global boss.
Okay.
Thank you,
As
dear.
I said, you are not.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, dear. All the best to you. Thank you.
Let's go quickly to our WhatsApp board. Someone here says, "Good day, Mr. Prime Minister and Colin." Well, good day to you. I'm a small farmer. I'm a small farm owner. Last year on this show, we asked to meet with you. This year, it's been difficult to get an appointment with you. Please, how can we meet with you? I guess they'll just have to go back and
We can meet on Friday.
On Friday?
Alex, I'm sure Lynette is listening. So Lynette, book that one for Friday.
Okay. All right. Another one here. Can't get Point FM
Let
on
me suggest about Friday at 9 a.m.
Friday at 9.
9 a.m. Yeah.
Okay, good. And I do hope that they're listening, and I'll also respond when I'm finished here. Can't get Point FM on my radio, but let him come through. Thanks. Another one here says, "Colin, good day, and staff. Also, Honorable Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you are a God-fearing person. I listen to you,
Thanks.
and I analyze you are a brilliant person, and some people want to insult your intelligence. It is very sad. You quote a scripture. You quote a scripture in Proverbs, and the same scripture I did in my morning devotion, and I plan to give to you what a coincident regular listener and one of your maple syrup budget waiting for my job."
You know, the interesting
God
thing
bless.
is, as we said, look, man, we can't turn a blind eye on the plight of the poor. That's what the UPB did.
Yes.
And that's why they got cursed. We know that we have to look out for the poor and the vulnerable because, you know, we're God-fearing people. And that is why the people put us there, to improve the living standards. So when we come up with these initiatives, it's not about getting a vote. It's about developing people, providing with opportunities, helping them to enjoy a good standard of living. I mean, all of us must share in the developmental gains of the country. You can't have a situation in which you have a super class and an underclass, so one set of people doing well. And that's what happened on the UPP. You know, when I looked, for example, on the average taxes paid by the people that we collected, the revenue, average revenue for, let's say, the 3-year period compared to their 5-year period. It was like about $40 million more. Now, $40 million more over a 3-year period is not a significant amount of money. But there's just so much happening in the country right now. Even the CIP, the monies that we get from the CIP, I think last year, overall, it was less than 100 million EC. They were getting in from the IMF and other different borrowers on average about $250 million a year. But yet still, you could not see any improvement in the living standards of the people. So it shows clearly that they were more concerned about funding all of these corrupt contracts, making their cronies, their friends, their family members very wealthy. The interesting thing is, if my family members do a private transaction, it's a problem for them. When they're thieving off public sector money, you know, they didn't see the ills. But my son, for example, bought a private piece of land from somebody, speculated, put on $100,000 US dollars on it, got it for $750 US and flipped it for $1.5 million US, and that's a problem for them. And this has nothing to do with public funds, public land, nothing at all. He doesn't work for the public, private. But guess what? It's bad-mindedness. They want to make it a case that, you know, because we work for the government, we should not live. They want us all of us, even the overall population, want all of us to be poor and destitute. Not gonna happen. Everybody in this country it continue to improve the wealth of every single man, woman, and child on the labor.
Right across the political divide.
Nobody tell them to go and waste their entire life, buy a ton of marijuana, smoke
You know, I'm going to come to you with this now, because
I'm not hitting marijuana. I'm just saying here that when you waste your money in anything, you know, buy a ton of food and your gut get big every day, you want to smoke off all your money.
I'm bringing it to the Spanish woman.
Exactly.
I want to ask you about the issue that I raised in Parliament, and by the way, it felt good speaking in Parliament.
Yeah, man, you did well.
Yes, but I want to raise the issue of the protection in the interim while the document is being tabled still, because the bill. Because I can remember the Attorney General responded and said that it's a little bit ticklish, something to that effect, and it will have to be taken to cabinet.
No, we don't have any such discretion. It's either legal or it's illegal. There's no in between. There is no amnesty. The executive cannot overrule the law.
The legislature.
The good news is that I would say within 2 weeks, we'll have it passed within the lower house and the following week in the upper house. So the decriminalization of marijuana will become law within 3 weeks. And you can take that to the bank.
You told me 2, now you said 3.
Well, again, what happened, we took a break. And when I said 2, I was thinking about how long the debates would have taken in both houses. But we're giving those in the lower house a week to study the budget to start, and then after you finish passing the budget, then we will debate the marijuana bill.
Okay, so there is no protection at this point in time, so to speak.
I mean, just do a little
especially with the intent of the law.
Well, look, I expect the police to use a little discretion, use a little social discretion. You may not have the legal discretion. Use a little discretion. I mean, we don't want to criminalize anybody for marijuana.
Okay. Hi, Colin. Good afternoon to my Prime Minister. I just heard a lady on observation, well, I guess she meant observer, talking that same...
We have to be responsible. As I said, if you increase wages and salaries too fast, it is inflationary. It is something we're looking at, but we have to consult further. Look, ultimately, we want to make sure that everybody in this country enjoy a good standard of living. And let me make the point here too, after we'd have completed this period of negotiation, I mean, there's nothing stopping us if we find ourselves in a windfall and we'll not do some extra stuff for public servants. We genuinely want to make sure that people live good.
Comfortably.
Absolutely.
Yes. Let's take a call. Good afternoon. You're live, 99.1.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Prime Minister.
The man show.
Yeah, bro. There's some more Barbuda. Me want to understand the right, because how you sound like the other company spend all the money on Antigua government spend a dollar. Even listen to Love and them today, like something wrong.
Let me tell you, I'm for Mancho. Love can't count. That's 1. 2, he doesn't understand that UNDP does not come with any money. They are our employee. Okay, they work for the government of Antigua and Barbuda. If we don't want them in Barbuda tomorrow, we can tell them go back to the United Nations or go back to New York. And we can get Caribbean development back.
Money, come on, one question. And then we get the money from China, so you who get them and give them.
Exactly. So,
but the Prime Minister the song, though.
Nobody.
How them do? How the argument them make up? You put them kind of somewhere in newspaper and make people know how you go. How you sound to me like them. When you come and explain to them, realize with it. You want and give them because I don't want nobody to say. I chop them. Kind of love the person.
Exactly.
So I do that way that then they can run the money that the public happen.
Exactly.
The money. I mean, no problem. I agree that, eh? Because you're right for doing good, don't be here.
Exactly.
Every party they say I'm a thief and I chop them money. Me 100% agree that. But when me say, how then they talk to them? Me say, something never wrong to them. The Prime Minister never talk to them and really understand how you really go. Because you're right for trying to take out the summer house. And there's no way I will live to say, I don't want them outside toilet. Me agree with you. And blind must understand that same bathrooms they talk about pipes, you fix it already. And you put 2 toilets in there and mash them up.
We don't fix that about 5 times.
Me tell you, buck them down and move over there. And they put no more toilets in. And I mean that don't make no sense, because they say that they destroy bird toilet. Bird not a toilet.
Foolish.
I follow the bathroom. Who never on bathroom so you should go to wash their skin.
For Mancho, we had a pit latrine eradication program. So all of the pit latrines here in Point, we replace them with septic, give people septic inside their homes. And you want to tell me that a charitable and international charitable organization coming to us now to tell us that we must accept pit latrines?
Yeah, in fact, the next thing is the Prime Minister.
Next thing they can tell us, say reintroduce the night style system.
Yeah, go back to the Prime Minister. We have a problem. Every Saturday, I'll listen to Blind on this radio station. Yeah. No, I mean not agree that I want Blind from 8 to 12. Blind afraid to top on like you afraid Luther and them and Kimber and them.
Listen. Let me interject here, because this is not something
you
that.
talk to your Prime Minister when I talk to you.
No.
By the way, let me make the point here, though, for Mancho.
Yeah.
1, I have no shares, I have no directorship, I have no management position.
For Mancho?
I am a guest.
For Mancho.
You understand all the Prime Minister.
For Mancho, this is not something that I would want to ventilate on air.
Then they must stop here. The radio station belongs to them.
Okay.
Flying play Calypso from 8 to 12. Then they put up 1 to 4 o'clock. Listen to what they like.
Okay, so. All right. Good afternoon. You're live. 99.1. Can't send me the caution, you know. Can't send me the caution.
Big food.
I caution him. Hello. Good afternoon. You're live. 99.1.
Good afternoon, Colin.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, man. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, Zim.
Yes, Mr. Prime Minister. I want to explain something to you, Mr. Prime Minister. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead. But don't embarrass yourself in the process.
No, I'm not do that. Prime
Okay, go ahead then. Okay, go.
I explain something to you. In the Parliament, me hear you say that in the budget speech, me hear the Governor General say that a man's biggest investment he can do on vehicles. Okay?
Other than his home.
Other than his home. Okay, may agree with that. Let me tell the Prime Minister, he invested $78,000 so far in the last year.
I don't want to discuss this matter in the air. All I say to you, you have to take some responsibility. Because when you went and observed a radio and cursed a stink, I picked up the phone, I called you, I sent you to Public Works. Normally, I don't get involved in contracts. Rocketman and so on can confirm that I do not deal with contracts because I don't want the Ministry of Finance to be commingled with Public Works. We spend the we pay, we make the payments, and Public Works spend the money. We don't want them commingled, so I try to keep out the affairs of Public Works.
Yes.
And I personally called Public Works, and we got your contract to do the kennels for the dog, for the police, or the dogs.
Yes.
They pay you $30,000 and you use half the money to do the work.
No, is that true, Mr. Prime Minister?
And I ask you, I'm telling you, and I'm sorry I have to do this on the radio, but I'm telling you, sir. I'm sure. Wait, man, wait. You will get another break. Me warn you publicly, because you're not going to let nobody say that I send you to get jobs or get contracts, and you're taking money and you're not paying back. You're not doing the work and you're not paying back the money. You cannot operate like that.
No, Mr. Prime Minister.
You have to hold your end of the bargain.
Mr. Prime Minister, respectfully, Mr. Prime Minister, that never happened, sir.
Boss, Public Works wrote to me personally, about it,
Mr. Prime Minister.
Did they pay $35,000 as a mobilization?
No, sir.
Boss, you self tell me go and use the money and pay up for a car. How you go pay for a car and do government work? What's the matter with you?
All right.
No, they paid me $30,400.
Whatever it is, $30-something thousand. Anyway, look, all I'm saying here, you're not going to hold me hostage by calling me on the radio station but work, and when we get you working at fulfilling your contract. When it comes to that, go look private work, okay?
That's not what I'm doing, Prime Minister. That's not what I'm doing.
I'm saying here, you're not going to call us in the radio station constantly and tell us that you're not going to work and you want to work, and when we provide you work, you're not doing the work.
Okay, gentlemen, we have to move on.
You misunderstand.
You misunderstand that, man. I understand you perfectly.
No.
And we send you create problems. We send you national housing, problems. We send it to the school meals, problem. We send it to the archives, problems. We send it the man, just give me a break, yeah?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, we have to move on. Okay, Zim, we have to move on. Let's take another one here. Good evening, good afternoon. Okay, we lost that one. Quickly to the WhatsApp board, because Mr. PM, I will have to be out of here by 6:15 at least. So we have just about another 15 minutes to go. Let's see. Someone here says, good afternoon. Any raise for the pensioners? Mr. Prime Minister, good afternoon. Any raise for the pensioners?
I don't want to commit, but from time to time we'll make adjustments. Yeah, we'll do something with them. I can't say immediately, but certainly we'll have to make adjustments at some kind of adjustment at some point.
Okay.
Sure.
Mr. PM, we need your help up at Painter's Garden, the road by the corner. No, I mean, turn onto Lemon Lane. AP will dig up the road and leave it in a mess. I mean,
okay. Well,
this one we have to make a note of that. Is there anything okay for the pensioners? That's one. We read that one. Can you please ask the Prime Minister if the 1 month offer for the back pay is a done deal? Please, would love to get it next month.
That is a recommendation. Again, we will have to have the approval of the the union. If they accept, then certainly we'll expedite it. But the other one with the 5%, that is an interim pay pending the outcome of the negotiations. But the other one, we cannot do it unilaterally. It has to be a process of negotiations. But we have put it on the table. As soon as they accept, then we'll expedite the payment.
Okay. Good afternoon, Colin and Honorable Prime Minister. Well, good afternoon to you. Could you please ask Prime Minister Browne if promotions for police officers are done by favoritism? There's a situation of a police constable that needs immediate attention. He's been in the Antigua and Barbuda police service for over 20 years and have not been promoted. Well, there must be a reason.
Well, let me put it this way. There have been over 400 promotions. So either the person was overlooked or there may be some issue. But with so many promotions, I cannot see how, you could put it down to favoritism.
Okay, another one here. How is the $10,000 grant used for public servants for the housing project? And what is the estimated payback for the 2-bedroom homes?
Yeah, those who get a home at National Housing.
You're looking at the principal of about how much?
These homes are actually sold at cost. There's no profit. So they had about, I think, 177,000. So they will pay 167,000, and I believe that the payback is somewhere around maybe $1,300 a month, somewhere around there.
Okay,
depending on the mortgage package, of course.
Depending on the term, the term as well. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, another one here. Good evening to the panel. Sorry, the United Progressive Party made an embarrassed 95. I know this one for sure. He says here, we don't want any kiss. Okay, I can't say that. Prime Minister. So continue to stand up for your fair land.
Thank you.
Another one here says, good afternoon, Colin, and the young lady from the Chase. I'm the young lady from the Chase supermarket. You saw me there this evening. Oh, yes, I saw her outside. When you arrived at the station, was outside sitting down. Was waiting on the Prime Minister, but when I approached him, he said he was running late to start the show. That is so true. I need to get in touch with him, please. Need to ask him for a favor. Can I get the number for him?
And by the way, tell I'll be outside in a little while. And by the way, Zim, I still love you, and I've already asked Minister Joseph to sort you out, but you cannot put us in an invidious position.
He's Zim, you can make up that. I'm not getting into that.
He has a tendency to call on the radio station to make it look as though we've wronged him. We have not wronged him. Me contract you don't arrange Zim.
I'm just
Zim must learn to perform.
Okay.
If I send Zim, let's say, to another government agency now, and he go and take their money and don't perform, what do you think going to happen? They think that I'm corrupt.
Mr. Prime Minister, I would like to get a contract now, please.
Well, I don't give contracts. As I said, in the case of Zim, because Zim went in Observer Radio and was making a big brouhaha, we said, you know what? I said, look, I will step in and see what I can do to assist Zim, but Zim must meet his part of the bargain. And if you think that he's going to consistently go on the radio and shame us, then it's not going to work.
But Colin, you know what? The UPP coming now saying that the 5% is a shame. What about the people, taxpayers' money that then they take up and fence complex and a horse and donkey so in
nobody can account for it.
Mr. Prime Minister, you forgot that something.
Tell the Prime Minister, the little girl.
By the way, $50-something million, on fences.
Yeah. Exactly, and not only that.
Fences to nowhere.
Look, Colin, you're crazy. You see the same Yasko. You people don't develop Yasko long time. You look over Yasko today, who am going to be in the bush, go pee-pee.
Okay, give me a chance here. It says here, tell the Prime Minister, the little girl at Mock Pond that he visited last election would like to speak with him, please.
Sure.
Her name is Adele.
Yeah, we'll arrange.
Okay, we'll arrange that. Yeah. Okay, another one here. Good afternoon to the Prime Minister and Browne and Browne show. To the Prime Minister, why don't you get a debate with Lovell to show Antigua people how he lie? We'd love to hear that. Good afternoon.
The interesting thing is, when he was spouting all the lies about the CIP, I challenged him to a debate.
And he didn't come?
No, he backed out eventually.
Oh, by the way, John Messiah, the leader of the DNA, she said that she would come to the Browne and Browne show, but just give her some time. So I'm going to give her ample time because
that's didn't she call you and say she wants to come?
She said she wants to come, but she said
and now that you accept that
she got ill. PM, she got ill. I saw her at the marijuana debate, and she was looking a little bit sick, slim. I'm sorry, a little bit slim. So I said maybe she had the flu. Give her the benefit of the doubt.
I heard up to recently on an observer with a ton of mouth.
Okay.
I shouldn't expect you to accept.
Well, I don't think she expects me to accept.
If Harold wants to come, I'm sure you will also entertain.
Well,
right?
I'm trying my best to get him, but I don't think he would want to be here with me and you. I don't know.
And if they invite me in Crusader, I will go.
Well, sometime when I was up there, somebody said, "Why you don't invite the Gaston Browne?" I said, "He tall. If he come up here, he like a bull in a China shop now. He share my up here now. I have to keep you out in here." Let's go. Another one here. I'm offended when my Prime Minister compares himself with Lovell or any member of the UPP. There's no comparison.
I apologize.
Another one quickly. How can qualified Antiguans in the diaspora get jobs in Antigua? Many of us want to come home, but due to lack of opportunity, we often stay abroad and ply our trade. Any suggestions?
I think what we have to do is to find some methodology to promote the various openings. At one point I had suggested to a few of the PSs that they should advertise these positions, not only in the domestic papers, but send information to the embassies abroad, so at least the Antiguans would know.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that they're not getting information on a timely basis.
Yes.
There are a number of senior positions that were filled within the public sector within the last maybe 2 decades, and I presume if we were active enough in advertising overseas, some of those could have been filled by qualified Antiguans. So it's a very appropriate point, and it's an area that we're seeking to strengthen as well.
Okay, good afternoon. You're live, 99.1.
Hi, Colin. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you as well.
Prime Minister
Good afternoon.
checking in.
Yes, how are you doing, Burma Road?
I'm good. Look,
You gotta stop
I'm
it.
just saying, if you get set to do a job, you do a job. And
Exactly.
That's the bottom line,
Exactly.
And Mr. Prime Minister, I didn't hear the budget speech really. I wasn't too well on that day, but I definitely have faith and confidence in you. It was a good one. I haven't heard anything. So I will congratulate you, even though I didn't hear it
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I
Thanks
know
for
you
confidence.
do a good job on behalf of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. And I would like to also thank you for doing a good job. I am telling you, I have never seen such a thing in my life of good governance in this country.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, and I am wishing you all the best as we go forward. And I was listening to Observer just now. I think I heard Lover saying, they were chatting, those fraughty things they call, they were chatting a lot of fraud. And he was saying something about he is proud to hold the management of his party and we're going forward. But listen, I had prayed a lot in 2014, you hear me? And I'm going to pray again to keep them out. To keep them out.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, y'all have a good night. Colin, we talk on Monday, okay?
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
Okay,
all right. No, Mr. Prime Minister, the gentleman who you're supposed to be meeting on Friday, I want to remind you, aren't you going to be in Parliament on Friday morning?
No, I think we resume on Monday.
On Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Another one here quickly before we go back to the oh boy, I know we can't do all of this this evening. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Mr. Prime Minister believed that Mr. Nibbs must visit Barbuda more often so that he can report to you on what is going on there.
He was there yesterday. So I don't know if it's a case that he's missing in action. I mean, he has been encouraged to go to Barbuda as often as he can. We even visited the airport site as well yesterday. That is coming on nicely. By September of this year, we'll have a spanking new airport runway on Barbuda. And we visited a number of the properties that have been repaired. So I can say for sure he was there up to yesterday.
You know, I think I'm going to reprimand Courvoisier for sending this one here. Pastor Courvoisier wants to know when he's going to be knighted by the Queen for years of outstanding and quality entertainment. That guy is something else. And of course, listeners, Pastor Courvoisier is our man there from 6 until 10 in the morning time, where he shakes you up in a good way. Kudos to the Prime Minister and his team. God bless. Continue to make Antigua and Barbuda the economic powerhouse. ABLP to the bone.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Colin. Can you please ask the Prime Minister to explain the back pay that public servants should be getting from 2002? I think you did that.
Yeah, we're proposing that we give them, 1 month in lieu of what had been due to them for the last, that would have been 16 years?
16 years.
Yeah. The truth is, to find the documentation and so on, that's going to be a headache. I can see that it will take many years to reconcile that. So we just want to clean it up and to move forward with understanding that we will honor our commitments. We'll make sure that the payments are made. And by the way, we're trying to get all of the vouchers in place. I doubt we can make it for January, but I'm hoping that for February, provided we can get the vouchers in place, public sector workers will get the increase.
Yeah.
So this idea that is an idle promise and it's not going to happen, utter nonsense.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Prime Minister. Can I come in and see you next week? Okay, that's from Keith Roy Black there. All right, we're going to leave it there for the WhatsApp because we are totally inundated with the WhatsApp messages. We are winding down. We have just a few more minutes, so let's take the last bit of callers that we have here. Good evening. You're live, 99.1.
Good afternoon, Mr. O'Neill.
Good evening.
Please tell the PM.
He's listening.
To bring Mr. Lovell on the radio because we need some
answers
about this romantic rhythm. Up to now, me not get the rhythm of romancing. You understand me? So you need to bring him on so we can get some answers.
He criticized us suspending $300-something $1,000 for the One Nation concert in which we had over 10,000 people, and he spent over $7 million on romantic rhythms, and this is no exaggeration. At no point he had even 6,000 people there.
Well, up to the time he gave a free ticket until they get nobody.
Exactly, with free tickets, yeah.
Free ticket, nobody still go.
Amazing, eh?
And I heard him this afternoon saying in 2005 they give 10%, and now you're coming to wishy-washy 5%.
But this is an interim thing. And by the way,
I don't think they understand.
Why he's not accounting for his stewardship? He was finance minister for 5 years between 2009 and 2014. He gave none, zero.
Well, why answer both the caller said, don't bother. And up to now, nobody can find a record of that.
Not up to now.
Yeah.
Sad,
yes, probably the records. Yeah.
All right.
Tell them come and say the thing clean up. We don't get back done already. We can't minister in a case.
Okay. I'm compelled to read one or two more quickly before I get out of here. One of them here says, let me see. I know one of them was asking about, that one is quite long. Ask Zim why when he get the money to build the dog house, police headquarters, and name it off. Okay.
Let me make a point here on the Zim issue. And the reason why I'm dealing with it publicly, because Zim has a tendency, a habit, to call on the radio station to chide our government as though we have done him wrong. We have not. Zim has gotten many contracts. At one point, Zim was working at National Housing. Zim would not cooperate with anybody. Now, when I would have taken it on myself to do something that ordinarily I would not do, get your contract for $300-something $1,000. You get 10% of it. You take the money and go and deal with your personal expenses. And you don't do the government work. Then Public Works writing to me. What do you expect me to do? Now, this is not the first time. I've asked Comrade Malvin Joseph, to try and sort him out. But Zim, you need to sort yourself out. And if it's one man, you're not going to call on a radio station to make it look as though I did something wrong, because we haven't done anything wrong. And by the way, nobody has no right to government contracts. If you're such a good carpenter, plenty private work out there, such a good contractor. So this idea that you can think you can just go on the radio and demand that we give you contracts, we don't run government like that.
Okay. Good afternoon. Always locked from New York. I'm planning to relocate in about 10 months. Will I be able to get duty free to ship my items?
And the answer is yes.
All right. The two final callers. Yeah, we'll take two final callers. Good evening. You're live, 99.1. 99.1. Good evening. All right. Let's take another one quickly. Good evening. You're live, 99.1.
Good night.
Good night.
Colleen, my friend.
Good night.
Good night.
Yes.
The Prime Minister. I thank you for what you have done for Bethesda and Christian Hill.
They fix the place?
They fix Christian Hill where I born.
Oh, nice.
But Bethesda will be next week.
Okay, good.
So, God is so good to you.
Thank you.
And I pray every day for you, up to today in church.
Thank you. Appreciate
we are praying for you.
Faith and works.
Yes, and nothing beat prayer. Nothing beat prayer.
Complemented with works.
Yes, so put your trust, your confidence, and hold on to God and change it hand.
Thank you.
Because the Lord will soon come. So all of us have to prepare to meet our God.
True.
So put your trust. And I love you.
Love you too. All
Okay,
the best.
the final one. Good evening, you're live, 99.1. Hi, good evening. Okay, good evening, you're live, 99.1.
Hi, Colin, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
And good evening to the PM as well.
Yes.
Good evening.
Yeah, I am asking you, sir, please, something about the private sector. Could you look at some of these private sectors? Very, 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 very important, sir. You have people working for years in the private sector, and some of these companies, they are very successful and refuse to give their employees an increase.
Sure.
That is something I'm asking you.
Well, we're hoping that now that we have decided to give public servants an increase, that they will follow our lead. Because, you see, we have to understand that, look, all of us are stakeholders in this, yeah? And in the private sector, we do not expect private firms just to pursue profit motives. They must understand, too, that workers, employees, that they are significant stakeholders and that their interests should be taken into consideration as well. What's the point having a successful firm and have employees who are struggling? I mean, how does that help in terms of sustaining the firm? So we'll appeal to them to follow the government's lead and to give your employees something, help them to improve their standard of living. Because you see, we want Antigua and Barbuda to be a high-income country, one in which workers make a significant amount of money, one in which they can enjoy a good standard of living. But the private sector has to carry its share of the burden and to make sure that it carry its staff with it as well.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, on that note, gentlemen, I noticed that one of my links just arrived, Bernard. He tends, you know what he does, PM? Every time he listens outside, and every time I say it's about time to leave, he comes in some other excerpts as well. So please make sure that you visit our website. It's www.pointwhitney, that's Pointe, pointfmradio.com. For those of you who have joined us, I want to say thanks. I noticed that Japunkin is here with his guitar. He's going to play something for the Prime Minister to take us out, to take us on the road, to get us out of in here. Japunkin, yeah, I see you walk with the guitar again. You're back with us here.
Yeah, I feel proud of the Prime Minister.
Yes. So you feel that you should play something for him. Yes.
It deserves it.
Yes. So what's the name of this one?
The mess. Like a horse.
Go ahead.
A message from the Prime Minister.
A message for the Prime Minister. Okay. From the Prime Minister. Which one? From the Prime Minister. Okay, good. We're listening. Only on Point FM.
Warming up. I'm dedicating this song to the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the man from City West, the Honorable Russell Browne, coming from Japunkin. You say in your words you will help the poor. You stick to your words and you will see. Take it from me, Joe Pumpkin, and God will see you. So go along, go along to help poor. Go along to help in this nation, and you will see, God will see you, 'cause the voice of the poor is the voice of God. My leader, I know you're helping the poor, and God will bless you, and God also will help you to greet the journey. Yes, I know the road is rough, is long and tough. Yes, I know many challenges will come your way, but hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep the faith, keep the faith.
Yes.
Keep the faith, and you will see, God will see you. Because you say in your words you will help the poor. Just stick to your words and you will see. Because promise made, Colin?
Yes.
And promise kept.
Promise kept.
Promise made.
Promise made.
And promise kept.
Promise kept.
Colin, look around. Many houses he have done, and more is there
to come.
Promise made and promise kept. Promise made
and promise kept.
So go along to helping the poor, and God will help you. Cause promise made, call it,
yeah,
and promise kept.
9.1 FM. It's your favorite station, of course. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you. Have a safe journey home.
Cheers.
And see you next week.
Thank
Godspeed
you.
alive.
Godspeed.
All right. You're listening to 99.1 FM. My name is Colin O'Neill. We thank you so much for joining us on the Browne and Browne Show. We're going to do, of course, we want you to stick around a little bit longer because we have more coming for you right here on Antigua's latest sensation. That's 99.1 FM. And for those of you who have joined us for the very first time, we want to say thanks for being with us. And of course, you're always welcome to join us on 99.1 FM, but we want you to spread the word about us as well. For those of you in the diaspora, especially in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, we're glad to have you as well. Continue to spread the word about us. And of course, from time to time, you give us a call because we want to engage you, our listeners, and of course, particularly our Antiguans and Barbudans who are residing in the U.S. So on that note, I want you to stick around, stay tuned and stay locked to us here. Some fantastic music coming up this evening. Stay with us here at 99.1. And of course on Monday, I'll be back here with the Talking Point Show. On that note, again, take care, God bless, and see you on the radio on Monday.
Of years of slavery and colonialist domination, we are now politically free in an independent nation. The dreams of our forefathers have finally come true, and the battle that they have fought are now benefiting me and you. Raise your voices with me, and this pledge, let's